A cult movie can only be identified by the fact that it has an entirely devoted following that watches it again and again, preferably at midnight in a theater full of other die-hard fans. Few movies are as popular as The Big Lebowski and the Rocky Horror Picture Show, where fans throw huge conventions and dress up as their favorite characters, but all of them are watched over and over on DVD and talked about in depth on the internet. However, before we begin our countdown, we would greatly appreciate it if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel and also press the bell icon. Let's get started. Number 10. Trainspotting. Trainspotting, which came out in the 1990s and became a cult classic, was made by the famous director Danny Boyle. This cult classic movie is well liked because it shows how easy it was to get drugs in Edinburgh in the 1980s. This crime drama from 1996 has also been called the best anti-drug movie since it came out. It gained a cult following because it sends a powerful message. Those who choose to stop using drugs can live a full life. The British independent film did better at the box office than other cult classics. It made $71.5 million worldwide on a budget of $18 million. It was also well received by critics, and it won the BAFTA Film Award for Best Adapted Screenplay. Number 9. Night of the Living Dead. The 1968 version of Night of the Living Dead by George A. Romero is considered one of the best independent horror movies ever made. It has some scary parts that make it a real cult classic, and it has a lot of different undertones. Even though it was made on a small budget, Night of the Living Dead has been praised for 50 years and managed to get its message across. It also set the stage for other movies about survival and zombies that came after it. This masterpiece of horror is a great movie to watch if you want to feel like Halloween or go on a scary adventure. Number 8. Tombstone, 1993. Tombstone is one of the few movies that became a cult favorite as soon as it came out. All because of how well it did in theaters, how often it sold DVDs, and how well it did on TV. Tombstone gained a cult following because its costumes were almost perfect for the 1880s. It also has impressive sets that go beyond time and space and great acting by people who play historical characters. The Western drama made by George P. Cosmatos and Kevin Jarre has also been called the best Western made in the last 25 years. Number 7. Dazed and Confused. When it first came out in theaters, Dazed and Confused did the same terrible business as the other movies on this list. It only made $8 million in total sales around the world, but it cost $6.9 million to make. But this film about a group of Texan teens celebrating their last day of high school has been praised by critics. It is a must-see cult classic from the 1990s and is seen as a landmark in film. Richard Linklater directed Dazed and Confused, which has a large cast and made stars out of Matthew McConaughey and Ben Affleck. Number 6. Donnie Darko, 2001. Donnie Darko lost a lot of money at the box office when it first came out. It only made a little more than $500,000, but it cost $4.5 million to make. One reason it didn't do well was because it didn't try to get the word out. Another one was a movie trailer that came out a few weeks after 9/11 and showed a horrible scene of a plane crashing. Donnie Darko, on the other hand, came back strong after its re-release and made more money than it did during its first run in theaters. It was also praised by critics for its philosophical themes, and millions of people all over the world became devoted fans. In this unusual sci-fi movie, the main character, played by a young Jake Gyllenhaal, is a troubled teen. He has visions of a rabbit that tell him the end of the world is coming. Number 5. Wet Hot American Summer, 2001. Wet Hot American Summer is a teen comedy that is very funny and has a lot of sex and bad language. This could explain why it wasn't a big hit when it came out in 2001 and why it didn't do well at the box office. As time has gone on, it has become popular with a new generation of viewers and has its own large group of fans. Due to the huge number of people who liked the movie, Netflix decided to release a prequel series in 2015. In 2017, the big streaming app made a sequel series to the movie that took place 10 years after the first one. In Wet Hot American Summer, a group of counselors try to finish up what they need to do before the last day of camp. It has a large cast, including Bradley Cooper, who is making his acting debut, as well as many of the biggest stars in Hollywood today. Number 4. The Thing, 1982. Experts say that the 80s audience, who were more into the E.T. vibe, didn't connect with The Thing, which was directed by John Carpenter. When it first came out in theaters, it was met with criticism and bad reviews right away. Critics panned the 1982 movie because it had a dark tone and a sad story compared to other sci-fi movies of the time, which had much lighter themes. The Thing has gained a cult following as it has been shown again and again on home video and TV. When he made The Hateful Eight, famous director Quentin Tarantino even paid tribute to Carpenter's masterpiece. His movie is also set in winter and stars Kurt Russell. The music was written by Ennio Morricone. Number 3. Jennifer's Body, 2009. Jennifer's Body is also one of the best cult classics of all time. It was written by Diablo Cody, who is known for writing Juno. But like the other movies on this list, the horror comedy didn't do well when it came out. It only made $31.5 million at the box office around the world, even though it cost $16 million to make. When this Megan Fox-led movie came out in 2009, critics didn't like it either, which Cody said was due to bad marketing. 21st Century Fox advertised it as a horror movie that was too sexual and aimed to please male audiences. Critics say that Jennifer's Body was ahead of its time and has since gained a huge number of fans. It went from being a failure to a feminist cult classic that explored deep ideas about sexuality and the power of women. Number 2. Blade Runner, 1982. Even though it sounds crazy, Blade Runner didn't do very well when it first came out. Film critics didn't love it either, since most of the reviews were bad. It might be because, compared to Star Wars and Star Trek, it shows a darker, more bitter side of the future. But since it came out, Blade Runner has gained a huge fan base and become one of the best cult movies of all time. Up to this point, this Ridley Scott movie has become one of the most famous science fiction movies ever made. It was also an important step in the development of cyberpunk movies and had a big impact on anime and video games that came after it. This dystopian science fiction film from the 1980s is based on a book by Philip K. Dick, who also wrote A Scanner Darkly and Minority Report. Number 1. The Wizard of Oz, 1939. Wizard of Oz has been called one of the most famous movies ever made. But did you know that when it came out in 1939, it didn't make money for MGM? It didn't make money until it came out again 10 years later. This fantasy movie has become a beloved classic, and movie critics now put it on their lists of the best movies of all time. Also, the 1939 movie became a cult favorite when it really connected with TV viewers when it was shown on CBS in 1956. Wizard of Oz has been praised for its music, its beautiful images, its great story, and its memorable characters. It was nominated for 6 Oscars, and Herbert Stothart won for Best Original Song and Best Original Score. So that's it for today. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and click the bell button to get all latest updates.